We've actually covered a hell of a lot of ground there, and there's so many ideas coming through. You've actually stolen all my things. That's absolutely fine. But I think one of the things that's come through, I come from, I'm not an accountant by trade. I work with Clark Howes on business development. I normally think about trying to grow the top line profitably. That's what I'm trying to think about. But everything you talk about there, you've kind of spoken about that a little bit, but everything you talk about is really important. You've got to have some really good systems underneath you. Most people think about USP as being what makes us totally different. Have we got a patent is one of the questions up here. Is it totally different? It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be that. And actually, as the world gets more and more sophisticated, it's really difficult to find a niche, isn't it? It's really difficult. So, we've just put some ideas down in here about the things that could make you different. And one of the ones that's coming to the fore, sorry to go on about it because I'm spending a lot of time on it, is customer experience. That whole thing about what you're like to do business with. And especially as a small business, it's a really, really important factor. You know, people, all other things being equal, people like to do business with people they like. You look at so many of the large companies, actually there's loads of ways that people can do business with you, and there's this thing called omni-channel. You know, people talking to you, whether it be on social media, or whether it be on the phone, or face-to-face, or in your shop, or whatever. You've got to think about all those touch points, about what your service is like in those situations. And every time you send or have a communication with a customer, there's an opportunity for you to have a touch with that customer. So if you do a brilliant pre-sale, and then someone has an issue with your invoice, and you annoy them, that's just destroyed the brand equity that you spent such a lot of time building it up. So everything needs to be exactly the same, and congruent is a word that I use. So USP, don't get hung up about it, but try and think about what makes your business different. Every single business is different. It's really difficult doing one of these sessions where we've got hotel, we've got a customer experience business, we've got HR consultancy. Everyone's business is different. And even if we had a room full of recruitment consultants, everyone's business would be slightly different as well. So it's about tailoring it for your particular business. But when I ask the question about who's got a mentor, who's got a coach, you need time out, and sometimes it's not just about the time, it's about someone asking difficult questions or just asking questions. The answers come out of the questions you ask. And if you don't ask any questions of your business, you never actually start to put any answers in place. If you don't ask questions about why you're doing what you're doing, or is it an exit that I'm looking for, you never put a plan in place. So the plan's vitally important, but someone needs to ask the question. I brought some books along with me over here. I'm a big fan of reading. Anyone read this book? I actually did a stupid thing. I went on holiday to Egypt earlier on today. I didn't realise I bought the large print edition, and it's absolutely huge. So the whole beach was reading it. But in this is you can see. Not necessarily it's always been planned, but you can see why Apple was a success and is a success. Because you're a man that's totally driven by his vision, his desire to make it work. And it's quite incredible. It's sad in many cases, because I think his whole life was focused on trying to make Apple work. But my goodness, did he try and work out what customer experience was, what the USP is, and everything. And if you haven't read it, it is worth reading just to understand what you have to go through to really achieve what Steve... But sometimes the same product can match a different niche. And actually one of the things, I forget who said it, how do you find the time? I mentor quite a few businesses, and it's quite amazing how often those businesses don't look at what the products are they produce, how much money they make out of them. I've got one particular exhibition company who produce stands, and actually I thought they might well have done these stands. I think they did do these stands. And he has got a fantastic business. If you go to his factory, it's full of these things, absolutely full of these things. The other end of his business is he does bespoke stuff for exhibitions. Now, he makes a load of money doing bespoke stuff for exhibitions, but he never has time to do it because he's producing these things and he makes £5 on each one of these. Now, that's mad, isn't it? That is mad. So we said, let's look at the portfolio. Where are you going to grow your business? what I'd like to do, much more of the exhibition stuff. Well, how are you going to do that if you're producing these all the time? So something needs to give. Sometimes something needs to give. And you need to intelligently look at your business and say, where's my profit coming from? Where could it come from? Where do I want to drive my business? Again, I work for a kitchen company. Same product goes into 3 different verticals. One goes into the retail. You go into a shop, you buy a kitchen. Low margin, quite competitive. We've got 2 other verticals that we've developed. One is working with luxury developers. Margin's pretty good, and actually you know where the developers are. Sales and marketing is quite easy. But the one that's really clever is that they've got a niche that focuses on accessible kitchens. So doing a bespoke solution for people who generally have had an injury through an accident. So they get a big compensation claim, their life needs to be totally changed, the house needs to be adapted, so we'll build a kitchen, a luxury kitchen. It doesn't look like a disabled kitchen, and the margins on that are 12 points higher than they are in the retail business. You posed this question actually, but my experience and working with a lot of small businesses, what typically I find is exactly what you said, which is finding and retaining profitable customers. The other issues are operational ones, to a certain extent, and actually one's an experienced one. I am an employee and suddenly I'm a boss, so that doesn't mean I'm necessarily an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur isn't necessarily good at running a business. They're good at starting a business and not necessarily good at running it, but actually finding and retaining profitable customers. Is that actually what you were talking about, those 5 locations? You need 5 locations a year. Trying to find those schools and actually, you know where they are, but then engaging with them, it's quite an issue. And that's what I spend quite a lot of my time with clients, helping them try and find and retain profitable clients. Now, I've got this the right way around. Marketing and sales, you can get into semantics. What is marketing? Is marketing about communicating your message or understanding what your customer wants? There's a whole host of science around marketing. There's a whole host of science around sales and some of the collateral you might need to win new business. And I won't go into these things, but actually one of the things you said there was money back guarantee is a really, really good piece of collateral. Everyone starts with the website. I'm going to spend 20 grand on the website. Why do you need a website? Is it a brochure? Are people going to buy your stuff online? Actually, some of these other things are just as important. What messages have you got out there in social media? And we have an expert in the room on social media. Have you got a brochure? Client testimonials are probably the most important thing, because you can say whatever you want about your business, but it's actually what your customers say about your business that is really important.
TripAdvisor showing how that's affecting hotels.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You just do critical non-essentials.
Yeah, it's things you don't have to do, but if you do them, they'll really benefit you. So I can give you an example of a guy, a friend of mine actually, was buying a Mini, and he went and did a test drive and had really liked the car. Went out with the salesman for a test drive, him and his wife. Decided to buy the car. On the day that they got the car, the salesman said, "Oh, here you are. Here's something for you to listen to as a CD." So he opened it up and he said, "What's this?" Well, it's a CD for you to listen to. Okay, so he opens it up and it was Queen's Greatest Hits or something like that. So that's absolutely fantastic. That's my favourite. How did you know that? He said, "Well, you told me that on the test drive. So I really want you to enjoy this whilst you're out." Now, that's not going to get an extra sale. What is that going to do? Word of mouth. Yeah, they've really thought about that. Now, you can have examples like that in your business. They're not that's not a particularly clever one, is it? But they're things that make you have. Anyone read this book? The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. And he talks about one phrase in here, giving remarkable service. Now, remarkable service. Why does he use that word? Because it's about remarkable. What does remarkable mean? It means a service that you'd actually remark to someone on and say, "You never guess what, but." So how can we do that? How can we do those things? And this is about making yourself different. That's not the whole thing in here, but it's worth a read. It's a couple of hours on the toilet. It's worth it. Have a look at it. Anything else that anyone wants to look at there? Quality Charter is quite an interesting one. Can I mention Quality Charter? Because that's something we've done with a kitchen company actually, which is having someone in your house is quite intrusive, isn't it? Having a builder in your house is quite an intrusive thing. So we've said, okay, we're going to de-risk that for you in the same way that they offer a money-back guarantee. We're going to de-risk that for you. We're going to say, when you have a builder, one of our fitters into your house, we're going to get them to agree with you whether they can smoke in the house, whether they can smoke in the garden, are they allowed to swear, can they listen to the radio, which toilet do you want them to use, what hours do you want to work, are they going to tidy up? All those things we're going to write down in our quality charter for fitters, so that actually we make ourselves different. And actually that's worked. So we've got this whole pack of when someone comes in, yes, they've got the kitchen, it's designed beautifully, it's the right price. Oh, and by the way, here's all these other things that you can rest assured are going to happen really, really smoothly. So that's what I mean by quality charter. One of the things we're fixated on I think in our whole kind of trying to grow the top line is winning new customers. Everyone's talking about going to the new customers, the next customers, when actually we've got a really big opportunity right in front of us with existing customers. If we talk to our customers and understand our existing customers, you can grow your business very quickly by not adding any more customers, just doing a better job for the ones that you work with now. And quite often we forget, don't we? There's that horrible advert, it's one of the banks, isn't it? No, that offer's not available for existing customers only. Yeah, new customer. That's rubbish, isn't it? It's entirely the wrong way around. You want people to be loyal to you, and you want your customers to work really closely with you. So, I've got some questions down here. I'm not going to go through them here. They're very similar to some of the ones that Tim talked about. But questions are the answers to growing your business. I'll just pick out that one word down there. Do you know what your customers want? And that isn't always about asking them. It's sometimes about a little bit of analysis. Because I think as Henry Ford said, wasn't it? If I'd asked my customers what they wanted, they'd have said a faster horse. Well, actually, sometimes your customers don't know what they want because they haven't actually had their world expanded. But look at your existing customers.
Can I just pick out one at a time? But do you maintain an accurate database? I've got to say a few words on that. Because in this day and age, with technology and pretty simple technology, we must all keep a good database and understand the database of our customers, potential customers and clients, because you're really missing a big trick if you don't do that. And I don't mean about sending spam emails and being invasive. But we're all in business to have customers and clients, and there is great value in making sure you spend time in developing your database. And I can give a couple of stories there. Again, one was Watford. When I first went in there, it was just after we'd been to the playoff final of '99. We'd had apparently 38,000 Watford supporters turn up at Wembley to watch us, and we had no data on them whatsoever. We had a ticket database system at the time that was about to go out with the ARC, wasn't going to be supported anymore, didn't talk to anything else, didn't talk to any other software. Don't get me wrong, the technology and the people at the club have taken it on far beyond where I took it, but the system that we embedded in there, because it was an open system, is still the core system that they use. And most football clubs, and Watford included, talk to their databases brilliantly now. And it's not, by the way, just about selling. Because I'm going to come to my second example, which is Raise the Sunshine Children's Charity. Again, one of the first things I did as CEO there was we brought in a database, and a lot about that is we call it donor management, but communicating with donors, not to ask them for money, but to tell them what we're doing and tell them how we've used their money. We're not asking you for any more, but here, have a look at. And we know everything about our supporters, what they want us to know. We communicate with them really, really well. Always improve it. I think we do it really well. And to go back to the point on the volunteers, again, there's a place there in terms of your volunteers and who your volunteers are, who they could be. If you know who your supporters are, they might be interested in being volunteers going forward. So I think I've made a point. The database, I can't skip over that without saying something about it. Every business should concentrate some time on making sure their database is as good as it can be and as clean as it can be. We have the same challenge at Clark House, don't we?
Yeah.
It's been a real teeth-pulling exercise in a lot of ways, totally open and honest about it, but I think we're getting there.
There's one here, which is, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but it's about the sales process. When you meet someone, how do you sell your service to them? It's not mine, it's by a guy called Tom Hopkins. And he talks about lowering the sales resistance. These are two thermometers which Anna's very kindly changed the colour of for my slides here because it matches the brand. But actually these are supposed to be red. And on one side what you're trying to do is reduce the sales resistance piece. And on the other side you're trying to increase the sales acceptance piece. And actually I could say, don't care about that side at all. It's all about, first thing, just look at that first word, trust. Does that person believe in me? Do they believe in my company? Do they believe in what we're saying? And then it's about uncovering need. But the bit that he misses out is exactly the point you said at the bottom, which is you can justify with logic, but you're actually going to buy with emotion. So you've got to get to the bit that says here, just because someone needs something doesn't mean they want it. So you can be as clever as you want with all your questioning and say, ha-ha, got you, you need this. And they say, no, actually, I might need it, but I don't want it. So you've got to get into the emotion as well. And so how you do that is ask a few questions about, little word down here about the consequences, about what would happen if this didn't happen, why are you doing this, what are you buying it for? Tell me about some of the pain, some of the gain. And then once you've reduced this by telling people a little bit about yourself and why you're allowed to stand up and ask the questions, what they want, you can move over here relatively easily because you've asked the right questions. One of the things I like saying here is, one of the things we could have stood up here today and talked about is we're trying to flog you a strategy workshop in a day's strategy. We're not trying to do that. We could say, that's what we're trying to sell. But actually, this is about a masterclass. It's about no pressure, nothing at all. Hopefully, from the credibility of Tim and myself, you might think you want to come and talk to us, but that comes through. And so when you're talking to one of your customers, one of the first things you can say is, depending on your business and what type of thing you do, is not expecting you to buy anything from me today. I'm not trying to sell anything from you today. And they kind of go metaphorically, phew, that's good then. So that takes that off the table. Let's just talk about what you need then. And there's some techniques here, but it's not really about even if you didn't have any technique, intent is more important than technique in these situations. It's about just trying to build trust, understand need, really understand why they might want what you've got, and then help them to buy it, and then try and put some pressure on making people make a decision. Selling is horrible. It's a horrible thing if you try and pressurise someone. It's why all these insurance companies and Windows companies have this cooling off period. Because actually people don't like to say no. No one likes saying no. It's a horrible thing to say. So people either say nothing, or they'll say yes to get the person out of the room, out of their house, and then cancel at a later date. But, that's a whole couple of days course, but interesting, I think. Tim's alluded to this a little bit, a simple business model. How do you grow your business? Well, you can either increase the number of leads, improve your conversion rate, that will give you a number of customers. You can do more transactions with them, you can increase the average sale, so that kind of gives you your turnover number. You can increase your margin and increase your profit. The easiest one of those to do, intellectually, is what?
Transactions.
You've got to do, there's some effort involved in doing more transactions. Increase your leads, there's some effort involved in increasing your leads, you've got to spend some money.
Average sale.
You've got to sell more to someone, there's a bit of effort involved in that. You can do what my hairdresser's just done to me, put prices up. It's the easiest one, intellectually. People might worry about it, but price, if we're talking about that customer experience and actually people doing business with you, people will pay more for your service rather than less. In terms of a strategy, we're talking about a strategy, a business strategy, that has to distill down into a marketing strategy. Strategy for me is a much used, overused word. It's essentially about deciding what you're going to do and overtly also saying what you're not going to do. So go back to my exhibitions business. They should sell their posh, bespoke exhibitions business product and not that. So that's what their conscious decision is going to be. But I would say, if you are serious about selling and marketing your product, it needs time and dedication. So who's going to do it? And is it their full-time role? You can't just grow business part-time. You can, you have to begin with, but if you want to do it seriously, you've got to invest some time in this. Understanding your current customers' needs, understanding future customers' needs. Who's going to do it? I'll leave that hanging there. And please, 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 don't forget the people you currently do business with. It's 7 times, 8 times, 9 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to retain an existing one. So let's spend time on our customers that we already have and get them to get our new customers through word of mouth and referral. And then a little piece of real world kind of card experience you only get through grey hair and all those sorts of things. Growing your business, as everyone knows in this room, I'm not teaching you the subject, but it takes a lot of physical and emotional effort. It is absolutely draining. Absolutely draining. So, why do I say you have a confident, a mentor, a coach, or you talk to your dad or someone? Because it's great to get that release, to talk to someone about it. Because they can just say things that actually, naively, if you're an employee, you couldn't say, but for an outside person, you can just give that objective discussion. It requires regular focus and dedication. You've got to spend time on it. You're going to get fed up. We were talking about having that cold shower on a Monday morning and it's dark and horrible, and you might be called passion for food, but some days I bet you wish you'd changed it to be something else. You can't be passionate all the time. You've got to go back to that why. Why are you doing what you're doing? There needs to be a really, really strong reason. It needs to be written down, you need to understand it. To grow your business, something has to give. You've got to stop doing these. You've got to find time, you've got to find space. You've got to bring your staff along, which is what Tim's been talking about a lot, and actually if you listen to read the Steve Jobs thing, that's definitely there. And remember the definition of insanity. Anyone know the definition of insanity? Doing
the same thing over and over.
Exactly right. Doing the same thing every day and expecting different results. To get different results, you have to do something different. It doesn't just happen unless you buy a lottery ticket. And I think that's me done. Sorry.
No, thank you.
Thank you.